always wondered why I had to have a big brother constantly picking on me. Well, now that I've grown older, he still picks on me, but I've learned to appreciate his presence in my life and how big of an impact he's made on it. My brother is one of the kindest, most hardworking, and smartest people that I know. He puts all of his effort into everything he does, especially the FFA, and cares deeply about everyone around him. I am so proud to introduce my big brother, my best friend, and your 2017-2018 Wyoming State FFA Parliamentarian, Aaron Kersh.
You were saying this is better than sitting at home. It's true. It's so true. When they do you like that, what else can you do but go on even when you see?
4 years ago, if you would have told me that I'd be standing up here on this stage today, I would have never believed you. FFA was my passion and joy. I loved FFA. But I didn't think that I was a leader. Leaders are supposed to be charismatic, outgoing individuals, right? Well, I was never the most outgoing, and I certainly didn't view myself as charismatic. I was just Aaron. And to me, just being Aaron wasn't enough to be a great leader. Now, I've always been a relatively quiet and reserved person. I didn't think that my personality would be conducive for being a leader. And thus, if I couldn't lead others, then I wouldn't make it very far or be very successful in life. I set a limitation on myself because I wasn't happy with who I was. But through my journey in FFA, there's one important lesson I've learned that will stick with me for the rest of my life. We are all leaders every day of our lives, and we must be the best leaders that we can possibly be. So last year was my final state convention, or so I thought. FFA was my greatest passion and joy throughout high school because it gave me a place where I felt like I could belong. I knew that running for a state office was something my heart was set on so that I could continue my involvement and keep making a difference in others' lives. I was ecstatic to start doing the interviews, yet I was so terrified. I wanted to believe that I could succeed, but I still had so many doubts running through my mind. I thought that in order to be a state officer, I had to be more outgoing, more outspoken, and less reserved. I thought that I had to fit a certain mold in order to be a state officer. I just couldn't imagine that I would stack up to anyone else because of who I was. But as I reflect on this last year and that week of running for a state office, I've come to realize that we don't have to fit a certain mold in order to be leaders. We just have to be ourselves. Now, I want to tell you all about a very good friend of mine that I had the privilege of running for a state office with. My pal, Levi Gitlitz, originally from the Matitsi FFA. I met Levi my first year at camp, and one of the first things I noticed about him was his willingness and desire to try new things. It didn't matter what it was, Levi was always willing to try something new, and he never let anything get him down. So last year, it was Friday night, and it was time for the dance. I told myself that I was just going to go, have a good time, and not worry about the next day or the results. My friend Levi had come too, and I was so excited. I walked in there with him, ready to help him have one of the best nights of his entire life. Pretty soon, though, Levi had multiple girls coming up to him, asking him to dance. And I have to admit, I was a little jealous. And by the end of the night, he was tearing up the dance floor. In fact, there was even a line of girls forming, waiting to dance with him. I remember looking over at Levi and thinking to myself how proud I was to call him my friend. Levi didn't realize it, but he was a leader to me. I looked up to him. He didn't have to be the one in the spotlight, getting all of the attention. He was just content with being Levi. I don't know what made me feel like I constantly wasn't good enough, like I had to change who I was, because Levi didn't have to change who he was. All he had to do was be Levi to make a large impact in my life. I remember a time during my senior year when my advisor said something to me that I will never forget. He said, "Aaron, the other kids in the chapter, they look up to you. You don't have to be a certain way in order to be a leader. And you don't have to hold a position to be a leader." In that moment, I realized that I had way more of an impact than I ever imagined. I realized that being a leader has nothing to do with the success we have or the awards we receive, but everything to do with the good deeds we don't get recognized for. Leadership is not about being in the spotlight. It's about serving others, not for recognition, but because it's the right thing to do. Wyoming FFA, who are you being a role model to? It could be a sibling, a friend, or even a parent, teacher, or coach. Leadership knows no age. The old can lead the young just as the young can lead the old. Over time, I've come to realize that the most important aspect to being a leader is to just be who we want to be. Now, Wyoming FFA, what I want you to do is I want you to pull your phones out, turn your flashlights on, and hold them up for the room to see. These lights that you hold up represent the impact that you make in this world. One night a while back, I had to go outside to do chores. I took a flashlight with me, and I shined it up into the sky. What I noticed was that the beam of light started out small and then got bigger, eventually lighting up the entire night sky. Wyoming FFA, though your light may seem small, it is so much larger than you can ever imagine. Your light encourages others to shine theirs until pretty soon the whole room is lit up. You light up the room. Now turn them off. And the room goes dark again. Wyoming FFA, there is nothing you have to do to shine your light except be you, at your best, and yes, sometimes even at your worst. There is always someone who is looking up to us, someone who is being impacted by us. I know sometimes in life we can't help but feel like we're not good enough, because life will present us with challenges. Not everything is going to be easy, and we are going to fail. But we must choose to go on. Go on. Through the good times and the tough times. No matter where life takes us, we can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose who we want to be. Wyoming FFA, be proud of who you are. Have faith in the person that you are. Most importantly, never try to be somebody other than yourself, because life is too short to try to be somebody else. Wyoming FFA, be a leader. Be you.